Hi, my name is Alana. Welcome to my YouTube channel. On this channel, we review books. And I don't know why I said it that way. I'm a little calmer in this batch of recordings than I am in previous recording or batches of recordings. So maybe because it's a three-day weekend as I'm recording this and I'm feeling a little bit more relaxed. Who knows? I also ranted earlier, so maybe I got it out of my system. Okay, today's book review is, let's take this down. Okay. Rules of Civility by Amor Towles. I want to say I read this in October-ish. That tracks. Um, this was a book that I wanted to really make sure that I read and crossed off my list in 2023. So I was able to squeeze it in 2023. It was a treat. It's Amor Towles. Come on. The man, he's so good. Anyway, let's jump into this. Just jump into this. We have some things to discuss, but it should not take forever. For better or worse, there are few things so disarming as one who laughs well at her own expense. So, rules of civility, not civility, civility. This those bilabial consonants. Okay, burping is narrated by burping again. Katie Content. She is reflecting on a specific year in her life, 1938. And all of the colorful cast of characters in her life at the time. Rules of Civility is also set in an iconic period in New York City history with its jazz clubs and nightclubs and cafes and the driest of the martinis. And it's just it is a New York City with a touch of glamour that I think is probably gone. That era is over. Those interwar years are over, and so that there was a glimmer of something, and it's gone. And Amor Towles is paying homage to that New York City that was, and also in true Towles fashion, there is subtle philosophy that is woven throughout this narrative, asking questions about fate, and inevitability. The choices that we make, are they really choices? And also the facades that lie beneath the what we often see people present. And again, all of this is set in a nostalgic New York that was. So Katie in particular focuses on the people in her life during this year and how many of these people are actually putting on facades. They're masking to the world to portray a side of them, to portray the side of them that they want people to see. Katie even herself does this. So depending on the clothes that she's wearing or what color she has decided to dye her hair, Katie in particular likes who she is as a redhead. She'll act accordingly depending on the outward appearance that she has selected for herself. The pictures captured a certain naked humanity, lost in thought, masked by the anonymity of their commute, unaware of the camera that was trained so directly upon them. Many of these subjects had unknowingly allowed their inner selves to be seen. But there are tens of thousands of butterflies, men and women like Eve, with two dramatically different colorings, one which serves to attract and the other which serves to camouflage, and which can be switched at the instant with a flit of the wings. I took a second to look at the photo of this boy with his curly hair and friendly smile, and for the first time in months, I wanted to see him. I just wanted a second shot at a first impression. I could take him in without assumptions. So another idea that runs through this novel is this question of how much of our lives is controlled by fate and how much of it is a product of our choices. And is there a situation or are there cases in which fate overrides choice? As Katie is reflecting, she is also able to kind of look back at some of the things that she either experienced or what she kind of saw other people in her life experience and go through and how their lives ended up, and ask if maybe perhaps some of these things were predestined to occur. Life doesn't have to provide you options at all, any options at all. It can easily define your course from the outset and keep you in check through all manner of rough and subtle mechanics. To have even 1 year when you're presented with choices that can alter your circumstances, your character, your course, that's but the grace of God alone, and it shouldn't come without a price. One of Newton's laws of physics is something about how bodies in motion will hew to their trajectory. I thought that was a typo. It was not. Unless they meet an external force. I'm hearing my physics professor, when you're taking physics, a body in motion stays in motion. A body at rest remains at rest. Physics 101. And again, I'm wrapping this up. This is a really quick review. I'm looking at my time. Katie is reflecting. She's reflecting on the year 1938. Quite some time has passed. We know this by the time that she's talking about these events. She's married. Time has moved on. There is a lot of discussion about memory and nostalgia. And again, Amor Towles is also paying homage to a New York City that was. You could read this novel in a sense, as a love letter to a certain time period for New York City, where some may argue maybe perhaps it was at the peak of its glamour. And Amor Towles lives in New York. Is he a New Yorker, like born and raised? I think he is. You can tell that he is writing a love letter to New York City, and that he loves this city. There are so many gorgeous passages just about New York throughout the seasons. But again, she's reflecting, and so she's in this state of nostalgia in some cases. I found myself intent on keeping the memories of the year to myself, but I didn't want to share them because I didn't want to dilute them. Old times, as my father used to say, if you're not careful, they'll gut you like a fish. So within this theme, Towles is actually asking this question: are there things in the past that, though they may be considered outdated, are they actually worth preserving? Is holding on to tradition always bad? Where does it have its place? When should you let things go, or when should tradition prevail? However, is there a point where yearning for the past too much can be detrimental? Again, this is called Rules of Civility. There is one character, Tinker, who has this book on the rules of civility. Towles actually lists all these rules out in the back of the book. And it's almost like Tinker in some cases some of his behavior seems maybe kind of a little bit script-like, but again, it's this ode to maybe a type of even chivalry that we don't really see too much anymore. Not only did they have manners, they thought them worth preserving. They treated the opening of a door for a lady, or the hand-written script, or the hand-scripted regret, the way an archaeologist treats a fragment of poetry, with all the loving care that we normally preserve for things that matter. I've been thinking about what I'm not going to do. When over the last few years, I've been hounded by regrets for what's already happening and for what might, by nostalgia for what I've lost and desire for what I don't have. All the wanting and not wanting. It's worn me out. For once, I'm going to try the present on for size. So this is a short review. For some reason, with Rules of Civility, I didn't really feel the need to do this long, drawn-out review, maybe like I did for The Gentleman in Moscow. It's just a quintessential New York novel with some classic Amor Towles subtle philosophizing in a way that I don't think is obnoxious. He's just a really good writer. He's an excellent storyteller. He has a way of weaving in complex themes into his narratives, but they present simply. And this is just one of those books that was just a joy to sit back and read and kind of zone out. Towles is an intricate and smart storyteller. There are some things in this book I have questions about, but I think only on the second read would they start to make more sense to me. Again, this is my second Amor Towles novel. I did read a Gentleman in Moscow first. I prefer A Gentleman in Moscow, but that doesn't mean by any means that this was a bad novel. I thought Rules of Civility was fantastic. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. And I just think that his writing is such a treat. I would put him in the category of contemporary American authors that who he will one day become a classic. There's something about the way that he writes that I think is paying homage to some of the greats. Sometimes I felt this way when I was reading A Gentleman in Moscow and with the Rules of Civility. I would forget that this was written in the 21st century. And with that, I'm going to wrap this review up. Have you read Rules of Civility? What were your thoughts? I do still have to read The Lincoln Highway. That is on my list for 2023. And feel free to like, subscribe, and leave me a comment. Also, feel free to follow me on Instagram, where I get up to more bookish shenanigans. And I post goofy things in the Instagram stories because why not? And with that, I am going to sign out. Bye.